In our country, at this very moment, students are being groomed for prison, and it's happening in the place you would least expect, American schools. Harsh suspensions, zero tolerance policies, police arrests in school.
They don't want to deal with the repercussions of the kid being suspended or having to come back.
Once you out of school, it's like only one way, the streets or, just nothing, or jail.
It's an epidemic called the school-to-prison pipeline, and it makes it easier for kids to go from classrooms to prison cells. This is Adair. He is a 17-year-old high school senior who loves creating art, music, and fashion. But up until recently, he was homeless and fighting a depression that almost took his life.
Things were going bad with school. I had, my mother couldn't take care of me. I was homeless. I was on the streets doing whatever I had to do to survive. And it was just like so much weight. And I had a suicide attempt. I'd swallowed a bottle of pills, and I just said a prayer. I was like, God, if I live through this, and you have that means you have a purpose for my life. I'm gonna keep moving forward. I'm gonna do what I have to do. I'm gonna figure this out. But if I die, just let me have peace. And those are very serious things. They took me away from my studies. Just my social life, my friends, and work. It was all affected by that. And most of the times, I was just being punished.
Adair estimates he's been suspended from school at least 6 or 7 times in recent years, but the harsh punishments started early. So you were in kindergarten when you got your first suspension?
God. Yeah, I remember that. Being in kindergarten, going to in-school suspension. My mother can vouch for this, being in 3rd, 2nd grade, going to in-school suspension for talking too much, for being inappropriate in class, being too loud, disrupting the teacher. And I'm just like, I'm a kid, you know what I mean? That's why I do the work that I do, just to affect that and, just to kill this thing that we call the school-prison pipeline. But to me, I feel like that's just a title and a name given to basically just a trap that is supported by institutions. And the institutions that support that would have to be just like the policing system, would have to be the school system and the jail and court system.
In 2013, 1 in 10 Rochester City school students were suspended, 88% for non-violent offenses. These stats are connected to larger, more disturbing trends. In the U.S., Black students are 3 times more likely to be suspended from school than white students. Also, students with disabilities are twice as likely to receive out-of-school suspensions than students without disabilities. So why is this happening? Experts say there are many reasons, but most at-risk students are often crammed into under-resourced schools with under-resourced teachers, creating conditions for chaos.
They're from the outside looking in, trying to tell us what we're supposed to do, but we're the ones actually living in the system, and we're telling you what you're doing isn't helping us, it's hurting us.
But when kids get kicked out of school, there's a system that profits from their downfall. Private prisons, like GEO Group, which brought in $1.7 billion last year. The cost of incarcerating a youth for a year adds up to more than $100,000. Compare that with the average amount states spend each year to send a child to public school, $10,000.
Just these institutions, they're more like stone tablets, and it's just like how they're run is written in stone, and that's just it. And that's flawed, because when you're dealing with people who are naturally flawed, who are naturally going to mess up, you need something that's more humane.
You just sort of feel lifted being in this space. They've got organic food, in the middle of the city. It's incredible. It's an urban oasis. At the M.K. Gandhi Institute for Nonviolence in Rochester, youth educators like Shannon and Malik want to stop the school-to-prison pipeline by keeping kids in the classroom.
What often happens is a student is suspended for 3 or 4 days. They may have been struggling beforehand in school, but when they come back, they're so far behind, they just give up.
Their approach, restorative justice.
For someone who doesn't know what that is, what is restorative justice?
Figuring out methods to incorporate them back into the community, and also getting them to understand that their behaviors previously were not okay.
Does this last? I mean, if you do restorative justice at school, but then you go home and you don't have your parents there for you, is this something that could really last and make a difference?
It's like a muscle that you're strengthening. It's one time is great, but you need to practice it again and again for conflicts.
And it also shows the student they matter to the community, that they're not going to be pushed out for engaging in a behavior that was not necessarily okay or that was harmful in that moment, but it isn't the totality of who they are.
Many school districts are under growing pressure to change their code of conduct. Rochester is no exception, with groups like Metro Justice and Teen Empowerment helping to lead the way.
It actually took for my bosses at Teen Empowerment, my supervisors, my mentors, to actually sit down with my parent, and they figured out, and they helped me figure out what was wrong with me. Where am I?
Is that you?
Yeah, that's Adair when we first came to Rochester.
Young Adair.
That's an 11-year-old Adair. We as youth, we're the future. Me, whoever young people, are watching this, or whatever young people an adult may see on the street, the same people you look at on the corners, that's your future.
So instead of investing in prisons, maybe we should invest in our students, because they're counting on us to do something.